Hey everybody, welcome back to that flight sim channel. This is Captain Flako speaking, and in today's video we're going to continue our tutorial series on the Cessna 400 TT Corvalis. That's right. The first video we did a basic startup, walk around, flying the pattern, landing, kind of getting a feel for the aircraft, and in this video we're going to go more in depth with the autopilot system, the G1000 avionics suite that the aircraft is equipped with. Pretty straightforward. I'll go over it and also show you the uniqueness of this aircraft that has a keyboard in the center console there to make things a little easier. So yeah, with that being said, we're going to jump in the cockpit, go ahead and start. We're going to go over some shortcuts. We're going to show you what you can do in the PFD, MFD, stuff like that, and then go ahead and take off, do some simple maneuvers, and then do an ILS approach into Kissimmee as we usually do. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Here we go. All right, guys, here we are inside the cockpit of the Corvalis, the 400 TT twin turbo. If you guys have not checked out the first video where we did a walk around, went through the checklist, I'm going to go ahead and link the video here now. Check that out. It kind of gives you a walkthrough of the aircraft. But anyways, we are here in Orlando International. We're going to fly out of here, do some basic maneuvers. Looks like we got some weather out there. I think I have the live weather on, so it should be fun and interesting. Good thing we're doing instrument flying today, so it should be good. But anyways, let's just go ahead and start with the shortcuts, guys. Control 1 brings you to your PFD here in your cockpit. Control 1 brings you back, so you can scroll through your view like that. Control 2 brings you to your MFD, your multifunctional display. Control 3 brings you kind of to this view here where it shows everything in the center. Control 4, lighting panel here in the center console. Control 5, the keyboard. So remember those shortcuts. And also, if you want, you can also do Control 1 and then press A and it'll scroll. Oops. Sorry, I messed up. I hit the wrong button. It'll scroll through all the different views that the aircraft has, just as so. Then F resets your view. So little shortcuts there. Let's go into our PFD here. So this is your PFD primary flight display or personal flight display, however you would like to remember it by. But PFD, anytime you hear me talking about the PFD, it's just the one right in front of your face. MFD, multifunctional display. Just kind of remember the MFD as showing you loads of information like your engine, charts, maps, navigation information, flight plan, communications, stuff like that. So we're going to be talking about both. So MFD, PFD. Okay. Here in the bottom of the G1000 in your PFD, you have different options you can put into your aircraft. You can change the map layout. You can have PFD options here. You can change this, change the course or the type of navigation we're going to be using. Transponder here, turn it on, off, ident, anything like that. Nearest airport, that's a good one. Once we fly around, you'll see MCOs where we're at, Kissimmee, Orlando Executive. Pretty cool. And any alerts that you get, this is kind of like your CAS messages here. You'll get them here in your alerts. So with that being said, let's go ahead and set up ourselves up just to get airborne and fly to an altitude and do some basic maneuvers. So let's go ahead and tell the aircraft I want to fly to 4,000 feet. So here in your PFD, you can do it straight from here, which is nice. Going to set it to 4,000 feet. So now if you look here in the right hand side, you'll see that I'm telling the aircraft I want to go to 4,000 feet. The blue means that's where you want to go, where you're telling the aircraft you want. Here it'll show your actual altitude. Same thing with the left side here for your airspeed. If you have a plane that has autopilot or sorry auto throttle, anything like that, it'll show it up here what speed you're telling it to go. Same thing with your HSI here. Blue is where you're telling the aircraft to go. Magenta is where you're at right now. So we're going to take off and I want the aircraft to fly straight 360. So let's go ahead and move this. As you can see, moving this to 360. Just scrolling over 360. So heading 360. That's where I want to go. This is where I'm facing. So it should make a slight left once we get airborne. Beautiful. All right. So that's that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my EFB. I'm going to go to my checklist just to make sure that we are ready to go before takeoff checklist. So fuel quantity, let's check that. Control 2, check our MFD here. So fuel quantity looks good. All right. So that's checked. Good. Flight controls, check the flight controls. So we're going to Move the around, left, right. Pedals, good. Alright, sweet. Flight controls, check. Trims, set for takeoff. I don't know what the trims are for this aircraft as far as takeoff trims, so I'm just going to leave them as they are right now. I know, though, in your MFD here, it shows you your aileron trim, so that's there. But not so much, don't know what the trim should be for takeoff. We're going to leave it as is. Magnetos, this is how you do your run-up, but technically you do this as you taxi. You don't really do this in the runway. So we're going to pretend our run-up has been complete. Prop RPM, power lever, engine idle, flaps set to takeoff. So we're going to go flaps takeoff. So beautiful. And brakes release and all that. So after takeoff, initial climb 110 to 140 knots. Climb power set, fuel selector to both, or whichever one has the fullest, and your mixture. Sounds good. Alright guys, let's go ahead and release our parking brake. Down. Parking brake will show when it's on, as you can see. Disengaged. I'm going to go ahead and control 4, actually 5 here. Our lights are all on, beautiful. Alright guys, here we go. Let's give it some power and take off and activate that autopilot so we can get our hands off the controls. Alright, giving it power. Everything's in the green. Here we go. Man, you need to hold that rudder. Give it some left rudder as you're going because it will push you around. Catch you off guard. Knots. We're going to start rotating. There we go. Now remember, this aircraft is fixed wing, so you don't have to bring the gear up. So let's bring the nose up. I'm there 10 degrees. Before I turn on the autopilot, I want to make sure I have a good established climb. It's a little bumpy, but that's why we're using autopilot today, so that's good. Using live weather. Alright, so we're about 800 feet. I'm going to bring the flaps up and turn on the autopilot. Now, to turn on the autopilot, you can do it here in your MFD. We're hitting the AP button. Or you can do it in the, I believe here. Does this one have the AP button? No, it doesn't. So you got to do it in the MFD or just press Z in your keyboard. Just like that. Alright. So now I am going to tell the airplane control 2. I want to heading mode on and flight level change on. So there's the airplane correcting itself to go to 360. And now the airplane is climbing to 4,000 feet like we told it to. Now we do have some weather here, which is very interesting. It looks like it's a little more clear to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and start a right-hand turn to avoid this weather. So let's go ahead and just turn right east. 2090. Just so. And there you guys go. You see the wind data. It's telling us what the direction of the wind is and at what speed. So yeah, pretty hefty winds right now, but kind of avoiding this weather and heading east now. So there you go. Pretty basic, guys. I got the hands off the controls. I'm just letting the autopilot do the work for us. And we're climbing to 4,000 feet. And there goes the nose coming down as we reach 4,000 feet. And now you see the airspeed picking up. Perfect. Now that the airspeed's picking up, I'm going to bring the power down. Just slightly. Bring that manifold pressure down. And bring the RPM It's a little down to stay in the green. Oh, that's too much. Let's go there. Right, so what I'm looking at, guys, is here. Manifold pressure. You want to stay in the green. RPM stay in the green. So that's what I'm looking at. That's where I want to be at. I don't want the airplane to be stressing itself out. But as you can see, even at so, we're at 151 knots. Pretty nice. Oops. There you go. We're chilling. Looking good. Alright, let's make a left-hand turn. Let's see. Let's head north. Actually, let's go right. Let's make another right-hand turn to avoid this weather. Let's head south. 180. Right, we're telling the aircraft we want to go 180, so we're going to turn right. There goes the plane. Beautiful. All right, now let's say we want to climb to 6,000 feet. So what we're going to do is climb two different ways, and I'll teach you how to do both. So altitude, again, control 1, bring it here. Let's go 6,000. Now if you want to do it by hundreds of feet, you use this knob. As you can see there, 62, 63, 64, and so forth. Well, let's go to 6,000. And now we're going to do it via flight level change. Now, how does this work? Let me explain. Flight level change on. Okay, so it's going to be a little tricky right now to do it this way. And I'm going to show you, because you might use this and you might be like, Flako, why is it not working? Why are we not climbing? Okay, so when you hit flight level change will change the flight level based on the speed that you are at, right? Now, this aircraft, from what I understand, you cannot change the speed because there is no auto throttle for it to control the speed. So because of that, right now I told the airplane, hey, I want you to climb at 156 knots because that's the speed that we were doing. Now it's not going to do it, because if you pitch up, it's going to slow down, right? Now let's say you want to still climb. Let's say you still want to climb, and now the other way to do it is using the vertical speed mode. So let's show you that. So you're going to hit vertical speed, and now by hitting those up, you see here on the PFD, I set the vertical speed to, I wanted to climb at 1,300 feet per minute. Now what happens? The aircraft is going to pitch up no matter what your speed is. So it's a little dangerous in the sense of you got to keep an eye on your speed. See, I haven't touched the throttle at all from before, but now the aircraft is climbing. Now watch this. I can just keep clicking up, and look how the pitch continues to increase. Because the aircraft's like, okay, you want me to climb at 3,100 feet per minute? That's what it's going to do. Now I got to give it a lot more power to try and compensate that. More RPM. You see the aircraft is going to stall out, so I got to bring the nose down. Pretty much reached 6,000 feet at a very dangerous speed, almost at the point where we're stalling out, which is not good. So that's the reason why vertical speed can get you into trouble. It's there, you can use it, but I like using flight level change. Now let's go ahead and bring our altitude back down to 4,000 feet. All right, let's go ahead and bring it back down to 4,000 feet. Now let's do, okay, that's our speed. Let's go 4,000, flight level change. Now this is going to work vice versa. So turn it on, change it, 4,000. Okay. So because again, there is no auto throttle, you have to bring the power down yourself. Because the aircraft is saying, well, okay, well, you wanted me to climb at 144 knot, or descend, sorry, at 144 knots. So it's like, well, I'm not at that speed, so I'm not going to descend, because if I descend now, it's going to increase that power, that speed. Now there you go. See, the aircraft is pitching down to maintain the speed that we said. Now watch as I increase the speed or the power on the aircraft. You see how the pitch is changing? So now if I go full idle, now watch the pitch. See, now it's increasing the rate of descent. So that's the thing with flight level change. Sometimes you might think it's not working, or check your speed. Remember, this aircraft does not have auto throttle, so you have to manage the speed yourself. But I personally like using the flight level change because it keeps you out of trouble. You want to descend at a certain speed, then do that. Now I'm gonna go ahead. If you hit, teach you this. If you hit altitude, if you just hit altitude, it'll just maintain that altitude you're at right now. It's pretty much like, hey, stop here right now. I just want you to level out. So there's the aircraft leveling out. You see, we didn't even get to 4,000 feet. Speed back up. And that's how you just, like, if you want level flight real quick, just hit the altitude and it'll reset itself. Now, we're going to descend to 3,500 feet. So I'm going to set it to 3,000. Sure, 3,000 feet is okay. As we do that, we're going to go turn west to 270. Okay, turning west to 270. And now I'm going to descend via vertical speed. And we're going to go nose down. Now, same thing when we did earlier as we were climbing. The aircraft is just going to go down to whatever you tell it, you know, to go as far as vertical speed. So if you say 800 feet, then it does that. If you say, I want you to descend at 2,500 feet, and now look at the pitch and look at the speed now. Again, you got to keep an eye on your speed when you're using vertical speed, because the aircraft doesn't care. It's not going to manage it for you. So now I got to bring my power down so we don't overspeed the aircraft. Sense? I'm at complete idle. We're still picking up speed, so I want to bring the nose up ever so slightly. There we go. We're leveling out at 3,000 feet. We're going to go ahead and turn right again. Head back north, 360. Bring the power back up. 0 degrees. Because as we do that, we're going to go ahead and set up a flight plan as we're in the air. And I'll show you a few different ways that we can do this. So, remember earlier when we were looking at our PFD and you saw this nearest button? If you click nearest, it tells you the nearest airports that are around you. So right now, it looks like there's a little airfield around us, around 7.1 nautical miles around. You got Orlando International at 9.9 nautical miles and Kissimmee at 11.2 nautical miles from our position right now. This comes in handy if you want to see what's close to you. Let's say you have an emergency, God forbid, something, right? I need the nearest airport right away. This is where you want to do it. Get the information, and it gives you good information. So depending on the aircraft you have, it gives you runway length, your tower frequency. It gives you, the distance you're there, what kind of limitations you may have. So this aircraft, this field is limited to VFR. MCO and Kissimmee does have ILS, stuff like that. So really nice to know in case you're in a jam and you need to know where you want to go quickly. So nearest. Okay. All right. So with that being said, Now let's go to control 2. We're chilling at 3,000 feet, and you're gonna click flight plan, FPL, flight plan. Okay, so we're gonna click it. It's gonna bring you to this menu here. Now, very tricky. You're gonna have to right click this button. Once you get this highlighted, you're gonna want to go to your keyboard here, and we're gonna put our origination, which was KMCO. Enter. Go back, make sure KMCO, enter, press enter to accept, okay, doesn't matter, and then let's see, use this to scroll down, en route, we're not going to do it en route, and our destination is highlighted, it's going to be Kissimmee, KISM, enter, go back to your MFD, Kissimmee Gateway, enter to accept. Boom, there we go. Okay, so now we know, yep, that's good. So now we know that we have this flight plan set up. Now, what's the next thing we want to do? We want to set up an ILS approach. I want to set it up to where we're going to fly into the airport. So we're going to change our procedure. We're going to select approach, hit enter. We're going to go ILS runway 15, and you can scroll through these depending on what you want to do. So 15 is where I want to be. Enter. Transition is going to be WRPO. Enter. Minimums is fine. Good. Then you can scroll all the way down until you get activate highlighted. It's a little finicky, not going to lie. You're going to have to play around with these scroll wheels and all that, but it does work. So activate, enter, not approved for GPS, yes, load approach. Okay, so there we go, it's activated. But now, as you can see, like Flako is not doing anything. It's because remember, we're in heading mode. So we're going to have to change that, change it from heading mode off to nav mode on. And there you go. Now you have the aircraft turning and setting itself on its way to WRPO. If you look at your PFD here, WRPO is about 16.8 nautical miles. Okay, so that's the harder way to do it because you got to play around with your scroll wheels. If you want an easier way to do it, you can always use your flight planner from here. Select your route, put your departure airport, your arrival airport, add the approach, and load the flight plan. And you can send this to your avionics. But again, I like teaching it from here because when you send it to your avionics, doesn't mean you're turning it on. You got to learn how to use these wheels and buttons to turn it on. So that's why I rather teach it on the actual unit itself. So if you look at your MFD here, let's close this, hit the flight plan. It'll bring your map. Little dot is us. You can range out. There's Kissimmee. So now it's putting us on a direct path to WRPO. You can see, and then in WRPO it'll make a left-hand turn, WADC, and we should be touching down into Kissimmee. So now one of the things I like to also show is bring up here, click here, Navigraph charts. Okay, it's gonna load in the charts. Now I'm gonna show you guys real quick. If you go to search, we're gonna put in the airport name, KISM. Kissimmee Gateway, click it. We're going to go open charts, and we're going to go APP, which is approach, and runway 15 gives you all the different runways. 15 ILS, that's the chart we want to look at. Now in this chart here, it gives you all the information you need to perform an ILS approach. So it gives you your ATIS frequency, your Orlando approach, Kissimmee Tower, ground, all the information for frequencies. Okay, your localizer is going to be 109.75. Your final approach course is going to be 153. You can always change that here. If you look course, you can change this. Actually, I'm changing the barrel by accident. This is your course setting, but you see it's locked out. It doesn't let you change it. So anyways, your approach course is going to be 153 degrees, which should be the heading for WADC At WOTC, we need to be at 1200 feet. That's what that's telling you there. ILS conditions, this is your minimums, 200. Airport elevation. Okay. Missed approach. If you miss the approach, you need to climb to 600. Then climbing, right turn to 2200 on heading 240 and Orlando VOR. And gives you all the information that you need to do in case you miss the approach. Now, the biggest thing on this, what I like to show, is this right here. This little diagram here. So pretty much it's telling you, it's kind of giving you an overview of what this approach is going to be at, look like. So at WRPO, we need to be at 2,000 feet, 153 degrees. At WOTC, we need to be at 1,200 feet. So once we get to WRPO, we need to be on a descent rate to get to 1,200 feet before we get to WOTC. And that should get us on the glide slope and bring us down automatically. All right. It does give you more information here down below as far as like altimeter settings and what kind of also like what kind of approaches you can do on this. That's that. That's where you get your information. So remember where it says what transition you want to be at. Transition WRPO. That's it right there. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comment. We'd be more than happy to help. Anyways, guys, we are on our way. Remember, at WRPO, we need to be at 2,000 feet. So let's go ahead and bring our altitude down to 2,000 feet. Altitude. We're going to do it here. 2,000 feet. Flight level change. And I'm going to bring the power down. Remember, I just told the aircraft I want to descend but maintain 140 knots. The aircraft's like, well, if I point down, it's going to increase the speed. So how about you bring your power down? And now the aircraft's like, okay, now I can pitch down because now I can control that speed via the pitch and the descent rate. And again, this is why I like using the flight level change. Maintains that speed. You don't have to worry about it. The aircraft will pitch up and down depending on what speed you indicated to descend to. We should be making a left-hand turn here momentarily, and it's going to be a pretty quick approach. If you want to remember, or if you want to reference the first video we did where we landed, remember the speed that you want to be at is between 85 and 75 knots for this aircraft. That's your landing speed where you want to be at. All right, guys, we're about 4.8 nautical miles from WRPO before we make that left-hand turn. I'm going to bring up the speed a little bit. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind your flap speeds. If you look here at your airspeed gauge, this white tape here, this is your flap speeds. You do not want to be outside of this white tape when you start using your flaps. So do remember that as well. You don't want to overspeed your flaps. Give it a little more power. Looks like we have a little bit of wind here as we're going in through this cloud stuff. Got a 14 knot wind. Very cool. Look at the water. This is nice. Give us a little challenge. All right, about 2.4 nautical miles from WRPO. And there you go. It's already making the left-hand turn to intercept over to WOTC. So as we remember, we need to be at 1,200 feet at WOTC. You can always hit flight plan here and bring this up, keep this open here. But you see, it kind of gives you your altitudes where you need to be, 2,000, 1,200 at WOTC, and your course. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring it down to 1,200. So I'm going to use a smaller wheel here, 1,200, flight level change, and bring the power down. All right, WotC is about 5 nautical miles. Again, like I said, this comes in pretty quick. You go. Once we level out, I'll bring the power down and start trying to get into our speeds here for landing. All right, we're at 1200. Bring the speed down. Make sure that we're full rich, full RPM. That's good. 1200 feet. And pretty soon here, once I have visual, I will turn on the approach mode. And this is why you use this, guys. Look at the weather. Not a ton of visibility. Trusting our instruments here to take us to the glory land. Alright, so let's take a look here just to show you. There we are. We can go ahead and hit flaps 1. We're in that range of speed that we can deploy our flaps. Everything looks good. Okay, remember, WotC 1200 feet. We're about 1 nautical mile out. And once we cross WotC, I will turn on the approach mode. Should intercept the localizer and the glide slope and bring us home. Now, check this out. This is your glide slope. And you see this little diamond? Once we get right here in between this line, that's when you want to turn on your approach mode. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on now and watch what it does. So approach is APR. Boom. Approach mode on, and look how the nose comes down. And there we go. Look, guys, look. Hands off the controls. Aircraft is doing everything. Autopilot is doing everything. I just got to manage the speed. Bring the power down. Aircraft is locked in via the glide slope and the localizer, so it's just going to bring me straight in. All right, full flaps. And remember, we want to be between 75 and 85 knots. Just as so, little power. Look at this approach, guys. This is pretty cool. The weather and all. Fighting some winds, so this is a little challenging, but it should be fun. Oh, look at the pretty rainbow. All right, looking good, looking good. Nice and easy. We're at 500 feet. I like the descent rate. I like everything. Too white, too red. We ain't dead. Too red, too white. We alright. Beautiful. Flaps are down. All the lights are on. I'm loving it. Loving it right now. Bring the speed power down a little bit. Alright, I'm going to disengage the autopilot by pressing the Z key on the keyboard. I have control. And now just bring her home. A little bit of stutters as the AI traffic loads in. Beautiful. Gotta love it. Nice, here we go. A little bit of power. Ooh, nasty crosswind as we're coming down, but it's part of the game. Nose up, power down. Floating action. There we go. And touchdown. And that, my friends, is how you do it. That's it. Apply some brakes. Make a left-hand turn here. Exit the runway. And easy on the rudder pedals because it turns hard. And there you have it, guys. That's how you do an ILS approach. Hopefully, I explained everything to the best of my ability in order for you to be able to use the autopilot system in the Corvalis here, the G1000. Again, this is one of those things, like I've explained before, that if you learn it, it's kind of similar, you know, it's similar in all the other airplanes that are equipped with this aircraft, or sorry, that are equipped with this avionics suite. Ooh, look at the pretty pink textures. Love it. Love it. Love how Flight Sim does this. Jesus Christ. Anyways, but yeah, if you learn it here, any other plane that has a G1000, it's pretty similar. You know, you just got to figure out where the controls are at. But I like that this aircraft does have this little keyboard that comes in clutch, because in all the other planes, you have to use the scroll wheels to scroll through the letters, and it takes just a little more finicky and takes more time, to be honest. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Captain Gonzo and I take a lot of time to go through the comments and make sure that we respond to every single comment out there. So if you have a question, a concern, or if we mess something up, and if you guys have more information to give us that maybe we can use, please let us know. We're not perfect. We're simmers. We're just very, very enthusiastic simmers. And we wish that when we were growing up and learning flight simming, we had somebody to teach us the ropes. And that's why we took on this challenge to teach all the aircraft possible in Flight Sim 24. So with that being said, guys, please drop a like if you like this content. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel if you want to see more. And with that being said, guys, happy flying as always, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. I want to stand there.